Hey dancers, and welcome to the Dance Your Live podcast. I'm here with Tori Farias, and she is a choreographer and a well-rounded dancer, and she's going to talk about what it takes to be a well-rounded dancer, the deep details of what it takes to take classes and put some time and effort into really recreating yourself as a dancer. I'm really excited. Tori, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Salome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yay! Well, thank you for being here, being our guest. You were a guest for Max Out Live, and I loved your story, and I wanted to continue that story into our podcast. So why don't you go ahead and let us know where you grew up and where do you live now?
Yes, so I was born and raised in Pembroke Pines, Florida, which if people don't know is a spot in South Florida, equidistant between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. And I currently live in Southern California. I've been out here for about 3 going on 4 years now.
Awesome. Oh, I love Florida. It's so cool.
I miss it.
It gets humid though, and it's just like,
Yeah.
Cool. What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote right out the gate. So even outside of dance, this is just a quote that I have always held with me my entire life. And that is actually something that I read on like a poster at the dance studio that I grew up going to, which is just a funny coincidence. And I'm going to butcher it, but it is a Martha Graham quote where she basically says, it doesn't matter what role you play in the performance on Saturday night. Everybody has to wake up on Monday to do technique together, basically, is the gist of the quote. And what I love about that, and having like seen that at a young age, and why it's kind of been applicable to the rest of my life, is that it just kind of goes to show that hard work can be the driving force of anything you do. And truly, the people that you look up to, the people that you think might be like better than you or like whatever, everybody has the same process and everybody has to go through that journey. And we might have different ways that looks on every person, but we all have to do it and we all have to go through that. And like the dance sense of it, right? We always have to go back to our roots and our technique, and that's where we grow from. But in a real life process, it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of that check-in of like, what do I need to do to be successful?
Yes. Okay. Love it. Love, 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 love. Where can I find that quote?
Oh my gosh, maybe Google it. I promise I butchered it. I am like 95% sure that it's a Graham quote from the Queen herself. It was just, I always saw it on a poster board, like in the hallways when I'd walk into my little like basic ballet classes and stuff like that and be like, oh yeah, and it's one of those things that it applies to you when you're a kid, when you're an adult, every single stage of life.
Yeah, that is so awesome. I like that. I'm gonna check that out. Cool. Okay. Well, who were your role models growing up as a dancer?
I grew up with So You Think You Can Dance, which I know in the dance community can be a little bit controversial. People have different opinions of it. But what that show did for me growing up was show me that you didn't have to be one thing. And I liked that it pushed dancers to kind of get out of their comfort zone and explore different styles. And what was really neat was that you would see somebody go into a brand new style and still look very good doing it. You know, all of the cast members who are on any season are clearly very talented and well-rounded as it is. So from that, a lot of the inspirations that I had growing up was one of the winners from, oh my gosh, I hope I'm not getting this wrong. I think it's season 5. Janine Mason, she's also from South Florida and like from a Miami dancer looking up to another Miami dancer. I loved that I got to see her just shine on stage. And I like that I've like still kind of continued to follow her career. And I like that she's now branched out into acting and has really broadened her horizons in that. And I really look up to artists that are so well-rounded in that way and just open to learning in public. I think that for me is something that has always been really intimidating and scary to do, especially when it comes to like learning different styles or trying completely different art forms, like going from like dancing to acting or something like that, and being willing to learn in public and fail in public.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Yes. Ooh, I love the way you speak, Tori, because you really, really get into it and you talk about it and you pretty much explain everything. And I love that about you. So thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you.
that. Well, how old were you when you choreographed your first dance? And what song was it to?
Mm. Oh my gosh. We're talking like off the record, like not an official credit on my resume. Definitely like 5 years old. I did a Oops, I Did It Again, where I made my friend do the part in the music video, where is that kind of like, uh, I went back and got it for you. And she's like, oh, you shouldn't have, like 100%, like gave it some flair. At the time when I was that young, I was doing cheer. So I made it super like hitty and just like all the, and of course I was like, well, I'm going to be Brittany, and go ahead and get down on your knee and reach up here. Yeah, it was, man. If I'm glad that, the resources that we have for like social media and stuff like that didn't exist back then, because I 100% would have been one of those people that like recorded it, put it on TikTok. And I'm so glad that wasn't around at the time for me to do that, because I'm sure I'd be mortified now watching it.
Oh my goodness. That's great. Oh my gosh, that song. I'm like thinking, okay, I was like probably, I don't know, maybe high school when that song came out. I don't know. That's awesome. Cool. Let's get into our choreography questions. And that is, give us a little something on the journey of your dance. So how it kind of started, what inspired you, and then till where you're at now.
Definitely. So when I kind of mentioned that I did cheer when I was younger, I was in theater for a really long time. But when I was a young kid, dance was the thing that intimidated me the most. It was the most unnatural for my body, and definitely wasn't something that I had any type of like inherent talent for. I was really comfortable being in front of audiences, and I just knew that I loved performing. But dance was just always from day one something that I had to work really hard at, which is discouraging when you can't get something on the first try. I think especially for those of us that do kind of grow up in some of these performance arts paths, we get really hard on ourselves and self-critical when we can't get like all the details, or we can't look a certain way. And there's that like comparison to the people next to us. But it wasn't really until high school that I dove in, and on our IG live interview, we talked a little bit about my career in color guard, and that's what kind of really pushed me into it. Like I had tried dance, I had taken classes before that, and I was just like, yeah, I can do this. But it's just, I was so much at the beginning of my journey that everything ahead of it was so daunting. So from doing my high school color guard team, it's what really pushed me and propelled me into saying like, okay, well, you're on a schedule now where you have so many dance workouts, dance classes, dance training hours throughout your week. And that's now part of your regimen. That's now part of what you do. So it forced me to kind of like expedite my training a little bit. And then in doing that, that made me excited to continue training. And once I kind of got a hold of what I felt like my body needed, and even like my speed of learning, how quick my body was like improving on like flexibility and even like my confidence with dancing, it just was like a high that I just was always like, okay, now I got to take more classes. Now I got to do more. And I needed that like initial confidence to be able to fearlessly go out and take other styles and do other things. And after high school, I continued working really hard at training in dance. I was continuing to do color guard for many years. And so it kind of still forced me to stay on that regiment. And what was really cool about having the freedom to take classes just like of whatever I was feeling, whatever I was kind of drawn towards, was that it put a little bit less pressure on myself. And it allowed me to kind of give myself the space to grow and learn, and, understand that I was going to have those stumbles, and it didn't matter as much because there wasn't that pressure, and because I was pursuing it out of the enjoyment and out of just wanting to get better. And I would say too, like at the time, especially when I was like right out of high school and everything, I never thought to pursue anything in the professional world with entertainment. I went through what I'm sure a lot of young artists go through, where it's kind of like, well, art is a hobby and it's not really something that, you know, maybe you're kind of told that rhetoric of, you don't want to be a starving artist and like all this stuff. So I genuinely like put it on the back burner, was just like, I just enjoy this. And at least, you know, for the training and experience aspect, maybe that was what I needed. Maybe that was my path to go about it, to get to where now I'm able to say like, okay, if I wanted to pursue this on a deeper level, if I wanted to bring this into other mediums, like I can now do that a little bit more fearlessly and a little bit with less restraint on what I think that I can do and what my abilities are. And, you know, even at 27, I am still excited to learn and grow. And there's still tons of dance styles that I've never done before. And there's still so many things that intimidate me about this art form, from like the training aspect to the performance aspect. But that is now the part of the journey that almost kind of feels like home, because, you know, we're so used to it now. And even those like little anxieties that we get before like doing a full run of something or whatever the case is, walking into a new class for the first time where you know nobody in it and you have no clue what's going on in the style, that you just had to like go to the dance store and buy some pretty niche pair of shoes for or something, right? Like even those anxieties kind of feel a little bit more like home.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about being a well-rounded dancer or a versatile dancer. Now, to those dancers out there, what would you say when they start feeling like, uh, I guess when they go into a room or in a dance company or whatever, and they're given this a style like, hey, we're gonna start learning this style today. This is the choreography, and then they start feeling kind of discouraged. What, I'm sure you felt that way sometimes. How do you overcome that?
For me personally, I just have to kind of put horse blinders on in a way and just tunnel vision for myself. I know that I've experienced that quite a bit actually when I had the first day that I ever went to the audition for Illuminate back in 2018. Contemporary was a brand new style for me. I was not to I hadn't taken too many contemporary classes, so I didn't know what to expect at all, but I was like, you know what, this will be fun, it'll be cool. And it was an audition, and it was kind of just like, you know what, see what happens. Auditions in general, I feel fortunate that I have this mindset, but somebody once told me that you know, auditions are just a free dance class. And I try to really take that knowledge with me and be like, yeah, that's true, and kind of go in with no expectations. And when I made the team and started doing the rehearsals with Illuminate, I felt like I had like catching up to do at first. I was like, oh, you know, this style is still kind of new for me. I don't really know how to move that way. But rather than looking at the people around me for comparison, I would look at them as inspiration, and then have the tunnel vision on to being like, okay, when I'm looking in the mirror, I'm only going to look at myself, and I'm only going to work through what I want to do. And at the end of class, when we're like doing groups and everybody else is performing, heck yes, like that's when I'm going to be that hype person. And like, I love seeing what they're doing too. But I had to find that balance for myself so that I wasn't doing kind of this like overload of that constant comparison. I had to kind of compartmentalize like, okay, I'm at rehearsal. Rehearsal is for me. Class is for me. Class is for my growth. It's for my journey, and kind of accepting that. And at the end of the day, like nobody's looking at you really. Like everyone's worried about themselves. Everyone's kind of wanting to go through that same process. We're all playing the same mental games with ourselves, and that's just the truth. So I kind of just try to work with it like one practice at a time, one rehearsal at a time, and just try to focus on my own personal growth. And yeah, you might be intimidated that like sometimes, you know, you have to be like cast for certain roles or like whatever, but not letting those things scare you or make you ball up, but just kind of keep doing your thing and kind of keep remembering what your step in the process is for your growth. And then that's all you need. That's what it is, because it is your own journey.
Totally. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because it's true. Dancers, we forget that everyone's going through the same thing. Everyone's paying attention to themselves. Everyone is focused. No one's paying attention to you. No one cares about what you're doing. They're caring about themselves. They want to look good themselves, right? So I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's a reminder that we all need as artists, that, again, also not to compare ourselves, because to others, we are very different. We have very unique personality, styles, everything, movement. And it's about working with what you've got. And then from there, have patience for yourself. That's another thing.
Yes.
Right?
I love that. Well, and I love that last night we had rehearsal for C8, and something that you kept saying was open-minded, being open-minded and expressing like when somebody else was being open-minded and thanking us for being open-minded. And I love that, because that's what that is. It's open-minded to something new that as students we're learning, but also open-minded to ourselves, right? And the journey that we're going on, and open-minded to, hey, here's count 1, now here's count 2, now here's count 3, and still kind of that, even just like step by step, that is still a growth process in itself. Okay, now add it with music. Okay, now put it together. You still need that open-mindedness with yourself and with your learning process, to even be able to stay in that whole 2-hour rehearsal. Because, we doubt ourselves sometimes, and we could easily just be like, okay, I'm out, bye. Like, I'm just going to walk out of this garage or log off the Zoom screen or whatever it is. But it's that kind of showing up for ourselves and just like allowing things to just be, and allowing the process to happen. And I think that, like, as dancers, we do hear like enjoy the process a lot, which, yes, totally. Sometimes we could just accept the process. Sometimes we could just acknowledge the process and just know, okay, like, even when it gets stressful, like, hey, this is just part of it. This is just what it is.
Embracing it.
Embrace the process. I like that a lot more than enjoy the process, because that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. It's so true. Yeah, it's just more about being aware about it. Like, it's like, oh, okay, I'm aware this is happening. Okay, at least I'm aware. That's like the big step.
And not being hard on ourselves.
Yes. Ooh, I wish that I was able to think this way, or that I was more aware when I was younger, because we're just so focused on being judged. And this is something like, not just a dancer, it's just as a person. We're so focused on being judged. Oh, I can't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Why? And really, the deep answer to this, even though people don't answer, it's like, because I'm afraid of being judged.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And it's kind of what we said earlier with learning and sometimes failing in the public eye. It just happens. Like, how many times as creatives have we like made like an Instagram video or a YouTube video or a TikTok or something, and we're like questioning, like, do I post this? Like, what? But that doesn't look so, like, that could be better. Somebody's going to say something about that. Like, no, just put it out there. Put your work out there. And then also, like, people are going to appreciate, kind of the process that we were talking about. People, we see so much of the finished product, and we need to be reminded that the process is normal. Like, that is all part of it. So even like posting our imperfections, and, our creative projects, even as they're building, like, people need to see that. That's going to be that push for someone to be like, oh yeah, like, it is messy, but it's supposed to be. And then you get to the final product.
Oh my gosh. Yes to everything that you're saying, because I think that's, again, a huge deal as a person, as a human being, that we need to reconnect with. But also, again, this is a dance podcast, and I'm glad that we're talking about this in this dance podcast, because I really wish more dancers would just be more open to showing their process. Be more raw, I guess you can say.
Yes.
Just be raw. It's okay. Like, it doesn't have to be fully cooked yet.
That's what it is. Yes, more raw, more real. Because even the people that we look up to in the industry, and the people with the blue check marks that have like 1 million followers, like, there's still a process in there. And I think that that's almost more inspiring than the final product in most cases.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This was great. This was great. Okay, let's do one more for the choreography section, Tori. I want you to go ahead and pretty much tell us about your how you got into fitness.
Yes. So we kind of mentioned earlier a little bit about my journey getting into it and when I started kind of having a dance regimen. With that is inherently always going to be kind of that fitness regimen too, because you always have your teachers doing like push-ups or planks or crunches, beginning or end of practice, whatever the case is. And at first, when you're a student, when you're going through it, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, I get it. Like I'm doing this because I have to. But when I wasn't on that regimen anymore and I was a little bit more on my own, so to speak, I was like, I'm tired all the time. I'm, feeling lethargic. Is it that I'm just not dancing as much anymore? I don't know. My body started hurting and I was like, well, let me just try like going on a walk and see how I feel. Even if I don't have time to do like a full 60-minute dance class or 90-minute class or whatever it is, let me just go on a walk. 10 minutes. Let me see how I feel. And the small little transitions in my self-confidence and even just how my body felt and operated and my hips and my back not being as tight just really told me everything that I needed to know. And I wasn't like a big person that would like go to the gym all the time and like whatever. I just needed to just try things at a much slower pace and kind of like work into them. And then when I started discovering like, okay, this makes me feel good. I want to do more of this. Now what's the next step? What else can I do? I found a love of studio fitness classes and boutique fitness classes, whether it was yoga or Pilates or bar or dance cardio or whatever the case was. That was so much more my style than going to the gym. And I think that there's something for everybody, but I needed to kind of try everything to know like, hey, this is for me. I'm just one of those people that, I swipe my card, pay for that gym membership, maybe go once a month, maybe go twice a month if I'm feeling like a little saucy, but signing up on, if it's like an app or something, you pay for the class ahead of time for a boutique fitness class, I'm way more likely to go because I already spent my money, number one. But number two, it's a little bit more intimate than being in a big gym. So for me, that was really important. And, the class sizes aren't always super huge, but there's that kind of tighter sense of community as well. I liked taking a lot of classes that there was people who were older than me. There was people younger than me. And you could kind of see everyone's fitness level and be excited and inspired to be around it. And, I'll tell you what, like there's classes that I've taken where I am the youngest person in the class by like 30-ish years. And all of these older women are kicking my butt. I'm like, I can't keep up with you. I want to be that. Like, that's what I want. That is now an image of what I envision for myself when I am later in life. So I just got obsessed. And when, the pandemic hit and everything, I was like, okay, let's kind of push my career in fitness a little bit more. I did get my yoga certification, my 200-hour yoga certification back in 2016. And I mostly did that for my own practice. I mostly did that for myself. I taught classes and had fun doing that. This was back when I lived in Texas before I moved to the Southern California area. But when I moved out here, I wasn't really teaching fitness as much. And because of the pandemic, it kind of pushed me back into it. And I now teach dance cardio and other HIIT cardio classes with strength involved in it. And it's a ton of fun. And I couldn't love it more. I'm really happy with where that's taken me and that I get to say that I do that for a living now.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much, Tori, for sharing your story. That's very inspiring. And I hope it motivates dancers to get into more, because of course, once you get into fitness too, when I started getting to fitness, Tori, let me tell you, my injuries were less. I hardly had an injury, back injury. Like it's been such a great thing for my body, my health. And when I start dancing now, I'm like, oh shoot, I couldn't do that before because I wasn't building a certain muscle. Or I wasn't what muscle I was using too. So
100%.
Yeah, fitness, dance go hand in hand very well. Cool.
And yes, the perfect pairing. The perfect pairing. Dancer, you'll feel so good. You'll feel so much better and stronger as a dancer too when you kind of incorporate more of that cross training. It's well worth the investment, and there's tons of free content online on YouTube and Instagram. Just follow your favorite fitness accounts, and I promise you, at any day of the week, there will be some type of like Instagram live happening, 30-minute class with this person, whatever. There's so many amazing opportunities.
Yeah. All right. Awesome, Tori. Thank you so much. That was a portion of our choreography section of the interview. Let's go ahead and do our cool down. I'm going to dim the lights and put some nice soft music. Let's soothe it. What's the one dance move that you would do over and over again if you were stuck in a deserted island?
This is going to sound so funny. So I recently became obsessed with this because of TikTok. But there's this dance move that Dua Lipa does where she just kind of like, I can't really stand up right now, but she just kind of pops her hip forward, and she does it in like all of her music videos. And they're coining it the pencil sharpener. And I started doing it, and it is just so, you literally just stand up and you just like pop your hip forward and back, and then you switch sides and do it on the other side. Number one, great workout. You're going to get your obliques working. Like, it's so fun. But literally, it just makes me want to like put on a skirt and just like shake forever. That is like becoming quickly like my party move. Like, as soon as we're allowed to go back into the clubs and all that, like, catch me doing the pencil sharpener.
Pencil sharpener. I love it. Awesome. I love a pencil. I'm going to check that out. Oh my God. I love it.
It's like the Dua Lipa move. It's like her signature thing.
Okay. All right. If you weren't a dancer, what would you be doing?
If I wasn't a dancer, well, I would definitely still be in fitness. But a little like fun fact, when I first went to college, my first attempt, I should say, at college, I was actually studying dietetics and nutrition. That just became like a very quick passion of mine, like all throughout high school, because similar to how I just quickly realized, like, okay, fitness makes me feel better. What I was putting into my body also kind of gave me those same little like triggers of like, oh, this makes me feel good. This doesn't make me feel good. And I'm, in my 20s now, and I'm like, my body's changed quite a bit, and there's things that I used to be able to eat and my body loved that now I can no longer eat, and they make me feel terrible. There's things that I used to think were so disgusting and would make me feel terrible, and now I can eat them endlessly and enjoy it. So with our like constantly changing bodies, like I just have always liked following the model of just what makes us feel good and what our body like likes to have, like not even thinking about, weight loss motivations or anything like that, but just kind of knowing a little bit more about what we're putting into our body does for us. And there are still dietitians and nutritionists that like I follow on like social media and stuff. And I like to have the mindset with food that it is made to help us, not to hurt us. And that there's always kind of like choices that you can make, and everyone has a different body. So what you hear, one person saying really helped for them might not be as good for you, or could even be detrimental. And it's just kind of that journey as well. So because I'm just inherently somebody that likes to help other people, and I like teaching fitness because I like to have conversations with the people in my classes. Very much, if I wasn't a dancer, if I wasn't in fitness, I would want to be a dietitian, because you get to still do that, and you still get to help people on their journey. And again, it's exactly what we were saying with dance earlier, right? Like, everyone's journey is different. Everyone's body is going to move and work a little bit differently for those things. But I still feel really passionate about learning those stuff, but there's a lot of schooling that goes into it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. Oh, that's so cool. I love it. All right. And do you have any shout outs just to wrap it up?
Oh my goodness. I did one on the Instagram live, but I'm sure that this is like a common one, because obviously everybody knows about Salome's involvement with collaborate, but I'm going to go ahead and shout out C8. If you don't follow, collaborate on like Instagram and all the socials, go follow. I literally did my first rehearsal with C8 last night, and for the first time in like what, 3 years or 2 years maybe, since 2018, I think. No, oh my gosh, yeah, that's 3 years. Wow, crazy. And it just felt like coming home. What I love about what C8 is doing is they're putting out the art. It's exactly what we were talking about earlier, putting out the process, even the messy parts. And, you know, even prior to doing the rehearsal last night, one of the things that I kept saying to Salome was like, I'm just so glad that they're still doing stuff. I'm so glad that you all are still, you know, creating and putting it out there, because it's really important for everyone to see, especially at the time that we are at now. And, you know, for all artists, like keep creating, keep doing your thing and put it all out there. Like, I want to see it. We all need to see it. It's every step of the way is important.
No, wow, Tori, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It means a lot. It does. It's been a really tough year for everybody, you know, and everyone's choosing to do what they want to do with it because everyone has a choice. And we just, you know, we have a choice and we got to do whatever we could with what we had. And that's what we did.
Yes, 100%. And I love you all so much for doing it.
Thank you so much, Tori. Tori, thank you so much for being our guest. I appreciate this conversation. This was such a great conversation. I know that everybody's going to have some great takeaways from this. And I really, 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 really hope that everybody that's listening to this, share this episode, go and subscribe for Dance Your Life podcast and write a review and rate it. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to our viewers and thank you to our listeners. Thank you, everyone. And remember to stand out.